All right, so this second half of the week, we're going to focus more on standard form. So one thing I didn't really leave myself space for that I wanted to go over is what standard form actually is. That's an ugly Y. Standard form is the form ax plus by equals c. Normally we have y equals mx plus b, but standard form is ax plus by is c. In general, a is always positive and a, b, and c are always integers, but that's not going to be something that's super important. It's just if you wanted to know. But anyway, standard form, as I said last week, is really great for finding intercepts. That's probably the best thing it's used for. You see it a lot. The easiest way to graph it, though, I think, is to still solve for slope-intercept form. Because sometimes our intercepts aren't at perfect points, so that can be kind of hard to graph. So anyway, cool. So with sorry, my brain. This is review from the first half of the week. So remember that finding intercepts, which is what standard form is best for, you're plugging in 0. So to find my x-intercept, I'm going to plug in 0 for y, which essentially just makes the y term go away, because 4 times 0 is just 0, and x plus 0 is just x. So in this case, x just equals negative 12. Hey, look at that, I didn't even have to do anything else. How exciting. So my x-intercept is the point negative 12, 0. For the y-intercept, I plug in 0 for x, and I get 4y equals negative 12. So to get y by itself, the only thing I have to do is divide by 4. So it's, it makes one-step equations, which is kind of nice. So my y-intercept is the point negative 3. Please remember that intercepts are points. They're not just numbers. So it should be a coordinate pair with an x and a y. Okay. This one, same thing. To find my x-intercept, I plug in 0 for y. So I get 11x equals 35. Now, 35 does not divide evenly by 11. So we are going to leave it as a fraction. If you can simplify the fraction, you should. But that is not always the case. So, as in this case. All right. For my y-intercept, I plug in 0 for x. And I get negative 5y equals 35. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. I'll get x equals negative 7. So my x-intercept is the point negative 7, 0. Cool. All right. So that is, the intercept part. Now, like I said, when we're graphing, what we're going to do is we're actually going to solve for y so that we can put it in slope-intercept form. So when we solve for y, it's always going to be the same 2 steps. The first thing I have to do is move my x's over. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. But the tricky part is that these two don't actually get combined together because one has an x and one doesn't. They're not like terms, so you can't just put them together, okay? So I'm going to write one after the other. Okay, so that's like I said, the biggest mistake that I see is that people will try and add those together, so be careful with that. The last step will be to divide everything by negative 4. So on the left, it crosses out, and on the right, I'm going to actually divide everything by negative 4. So negative 3 divided by negative 4 is just 3/4, right? And then I have my x. And then 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. And hey, look at that. We have slope-intercept form. So again, like I said, it's always going to be the same 2 steps, right? I got to move my x's over. And once again, please, please, please remember, don't actually combine those two things. One of them has an X and one of them doesn't. So don't actually combine them. Now in this case, there is no number in front of y, so I don't have to divide by anything. But if there is, we would. Okay, so that's getting it in slope-intercept form. Just solving for y. So now we'll do a couple more, but we're going to actually graph them too. So I'm going to write it over here so I have more room. So first, I am going to subtract my x's. So minus 3x on both sides. So I get negative y equals negative 3x plus 2, because remember, those don't actually go together, because one has an x and one doesn't. Now, there's not actually a number in front of y, but there's a negative. And slope-intercept form is not negative y equals mx plus b, it's y equals mx plus b. So I still have to divide both sides by negative 1 to make that go away. So I'll get y equals, and then negative 3 divided by negative 1 is just 3. And 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. So now that I have y equals mx plus b, I know m and b. Right? B is the number that's by itself, so negative 2, and that is where I start. And m is the number with x, and since it's a whole number, I'm going to put it over 1. So that's my rise over run. I go up 3 spaces and write 1. I'm going to do that as many times as I can. And then when I can't do that anymore, I'm going to go down 3 spaces and left 1. And then I will connect my dots and put arrows on. And there you go. Okay, so I'm going to do one more of those. So I'll write it over here. 5x minus 2y equals 4. So, same 2 steps every time. Subtract your x's. But remember, don't actually put them together. Just list one after the other. So negative 5x plus 4. Then I have to divide everything by the number in front of y. So I get y equals negative 5 divided by negative 2 is just going to turn into 5 halves, x. And then 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. So now I have my m and my b. M is the number with x. B is the number by itself, and that's where I start on the y-axis. So since my slope is 3 halves, that means I'm going to go up 3 spaces and right 2 spaces. I'm going to do that as many times as I can, and then when I can't go up and right, I'm going to go down and left. Remember that lines with positive slope go up and lines with negative slope go down from left to right. So anyway, that is standard form in a nutshell. So, try the practice. I will post a video going over the practice tomorrow, hopefully. But yeah, there you go.